I'm going to pretend that you're not here, and then I'm going to turn around and be like, oh, hey there. You know how this goes? Oh, hey there. You may be wondering why I'm filming this with the painting in the background, and that's because I'm really bad at time management and didn't realize that I needed to film my intro to this video tonight or else not get it done this week. But you know what? For all you non-art lovers out there, that's cool because this information that I'm going to share with you is pretty darn fantastic, and I'm sure you guys will want to stick around because this could actually change your life. I did the no poo method 6 weeks ago now, and I've never been happier. A lot of you were asking on my previous video how it's going. Is my hair oily again? Like, has it changed? What's the haps? In today's video, I'm going to be showing you exactly what I do to get my hair looking healthy, not oily, glossy, curly. It's all great. I didn't ever think that pantry items would cause my hair to be so good. So yeah, for those of you who are struggling or have managed to make it work for a couple of weeks but didn't quite get past that transition stage, this video is going to answer questions about why your hair isn't transitioning as quickly as you think it should, whether baking soda and apple cider vinegar dries out your hair in the long term and causes breakage, because a lot of people have said that on my previous video. I'm going to be going into detail about how I brush my hair, how I wash my hair, which hairbrush I use, how long I go between washes, whether I use a moisturizer or conditioner in my hair, all kinds of things about what to do and when to do it and how to make no poo work for you. So without further ado, this all rhymes so well, oh my goodness. Let's jump into the video. So what you're going to need for this is some baking soda, some apple cider vinegar. I use Bragg's Organic brand, which contains the mother, a spray bottle that's around 500 mils, a 500 ml jar or round container, and what will also come in handy is a funnel and some spoons or measuring spoons. So in response to my first no poo video, I got so many questions, both on YouTube and in my Instagram DMs of all places, asking about the exact ratio of ACV to baking soda that I use on my hair. I also got a lot of comments from people saying that they tried no poo for weeks but just couldn't transition because their hair was still oily or waxy or just gross, so they gave up. Now, while I can't offer a professional explanation on this, I can tell you that in my years of experience trying and failing and figuring out how to make no poo work for me, 9 times out of 10, the reason your hair is oily and waxy is because you have the wrong ratio of ingredients. Now, while this ratio may differ slightly depending on your hair type, this is the ratio I've found to be the only one that works for me. 1 teaspoon of baking soda to 500 mils of water, and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar to 500 mils of water. So now I'm going to show you exactly step by step how I wash my hair. And this is really, really important because I found that the way that I put the ingredients in my hair and rinse it out is actually just as important as the ratios that I use. And if you do the method wrong, it can cause sebum buildup and it can cause waxiness and all kinds of yucky things. So basically what I do, I get into a warm shower, I fill up my bottle with baking soda, the ratio used before, and then I literally just spray the whole bottle through my hair. I make sure that I lift up the most oily pieces of hair and really massage my scalp. Now, this is an arm workout, okay? My forearms get so tired. So usually halfway I have to change arms. And what I do as well is once the bottle's about half empty, I rinse all the baking soda out of my hair really well. So that's kind of like the first wash. And then I go ahead and I use the rest of the bottle again, and then I do a second rinse. So it's kind of like baking soda rinse and then water rinse, then baking soda rinse, then water rinse. Of course, this is optional, but it actually does help to really make sure that all of the areas of your head are clean. And also, one optional tip that I found useful is that if you fill the bottle with cold water, you can actually feel the parts of your scalp that it's affecting better. Because when you're not using a shampoo that lathers and feels really satisfying, it can sort of feel as though you're not really cleaning your hair. But if it's cold water, you can feel that it's working into your scalp, and you can feel the most oily bits and feel the sebum sort of becoming loose, and it's just more of a satisfying experience that way. But of course, if you don't like cold water on your head, that's all good. You don't have to do that. Now, as this sebum lifting process occurs, you may notice that your hands get really oily and that water droplets form on the surface, and it's kind of a strange sensation. That's totally normal, but by the time you use the apple cider vinegar and you're washing that through your hair, you shouldn't feel that same oiliness on your hands, and that's a really good indicator to measure whether once the hair's dry, whether it will be kind of waxy or oily or whether it'll be a nice texture. So If you're doing these ratios and you find that the apple cider vinegar isn't getting rid of, well, at least most of that oily feeling on your hands, you probably have to do a bit more experimenting and figure out what ratio works for you. Anyway, once the baking soda is finished, we're now ready for the most exciting part, which is the apple cider vinegar. So what I basically do is to gather the entire length of your hair and place it into a jar that you've just filled with an apple cider vinegar rinse. So you want to make sure that the lid of this jar is wide enough to fit all of your hair into. Then once the entire hair length is in, bring the jar up to your head and seal it against the side of your scalp. And then what I do is just shake it around for about 10 to 20 seconds and then bring it down again. And when you do this, be careful not to let all of the rinse spill out. You want to retain as much of it as possible in the jar so that you can do the same thing again on the other side of your head. And I like to do it on the other side just so that I can get the ACV all over my scalp rather than just like on the one side. So it's kind of more balanced that way. Now, having done this quite a few times now, I have made some shocking mistakes with no poo in the past. So I'm going to help you out by letting you know what you definitely shouldn't do if you want your hair to transition properly. The first mistake I've made is to put far too much apple cider vinegar into the rinse, and then it will burn my scalp. You never ever want to have so much apple cider vinegar that it burns your scalp either in the shower or after your hair dries. I've had it too many times. If you have experienced that burning sensation, I recommend halving the apple cider vinegar amount that you're using in your jar. The second mistake I've made is to spray the apple cider vinegar into my hair rather than put it in the jar and rinse it thoroughly. The issue with this is that the baking soda has a different pH to the apple cider vinegar, and I will explain this in a second. But if you are leaving baking soda in your hair and you're not counteracting it with the apple cider vinegar, your hair will end up waxy and sort of yuck feeling. So you want to make sure that the apple cider vinegar counteracts every inch of baking soda that you've put into your hair, except for what's been put on your scalp. So basically, if you're not lathering the entire length of your hair with apple cider, you will end up with a waxy feeling afterwards. So definitely don't recommend a spray bottle, definitely recommend a jar. The third mistake I've made is making a baking soda paste rather than a rinse. Now, a lot of no poo people will recommend this, that you sort of make a toothpaste consistency and then wipe it over your head. This has never worked for me. It made my hair feel so disgusting and dry and brittle, and it caused breakage, and it's really difficult to rinse out if it's been put through in a paste. So always use a rinse, never use a paste. The fourth one is that I've sometimes just used baking soda or just used apple cider without using the other. Now, this is another issue because of the pH of both substances. And when you do this, you'll just end up with either really dry and flaky kind of scalp and hair or a really waxy consistency. Now, all of these mistakes pretty much boil down to the pH equation of the no poo method that I'm using, which I will explain now because it's really important to understand. But before we get into the science behind no poo and whether it's damaging for your hair, I wanted to show you my hair post-shower. So in this footage, I'd just been on a walk around the neighborhood and I'd let my hair dry naturally. So you can see it's fairly curly and wavy and it looks fairly healthy. It's not too dry, it's not too oily looking, it's just pretty natural. I decided to brush it with my bamboo brush, which is a Brightwood bamboo bristle brush. And I love this brush so much. It really helps distribute the oils through my hair. Only issue is I forgot to wash it beforehand, so there was already a lot of sebum buildup in there, and it kind of made my hair look a little bit more oily and not as nice as what I had hoped for the video. Another mistake I made, and I'm absolutely kicking myself, you guys, because I only had a certain amount of time to film this video, so I'm very sorry. You're not getting the ideal outcome in this footage, but I, for the purposes of this video, decided to wash my hair with the apple cider vinegar rinse only 3 days after I'd only just done it. So usually I would be going about a week, maybe even 10 days between apple cider vinegar baking soda washes, and that actually helps my hair not be as waxy or oily. It's crazy, it's so counterintuitive, and my hair has changed so much from when I started. Before I did no poo, I could only go about 2 to 3 days without washing my hair at all, but now I can go 10 days, and if I wash it in between, either with water or even with apple cider vinegar, it tends to go a bit waxy and oily. So that's a bit about how often I wash my hair. I honestly only wash it probably once a week at the moment without any washes in between. By about day 5, it starts to get a little bit oily, but I just put it in a bun and it's totally fine. So yeah, please don't comment below and be like, yeah, her hair is so disgusting. It's so not what I want. My hair usually doesn't look like this. It's just because I used a dirty brush and I also washed my hair for the video a little bit too early, so it's not as nice as what it usually looks like. So if you followed all these tips that I've given in this video and it still isn't working for you, there's still a few reasons why that might be, and I'm going to list them here. I've got a list on my phone that I'm going to read out. So the first one is that you might be washing your hair too often. So a way to think about this is I want you to take a deep breath. And now take another breath on top of that breath. And another one. And now that you don't think you can take any more air in, I want you to take yet another breath on top of that. But now let it out. That's what hair washing should be. Taking deep breaths in is like the oil buildup in your hair, and it builds up and builds up and builds up until you can't take it anymore, and then you wash it. But when you think you need to wash your hair, just wait one more day. But there were also some of you on my previous video that had said to me, I haven't washed my hair in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, and it still hasn't transitioned. Well, there's also a reason for that, and that is that you're washing your hair not enough. So it's a very fine line when you're trying to transition as to how often you should wash it and how you should wash it and all that sort of stuff. My recommendation is that if you've been washing your hair normally, as any other human does, once every 2 or 3 days, to wait 10 days if you can. 10 days, the first go, and then wash it with the full rinse everything, baking soda, apple cider, as I've just shown you, and then see how it goes. And if it works and it feels clean, that's great. Then wait another week or another 10 days before you do it again. And in that time, it should transition a lot more easily. But if you water wash in between, if you go longer than that, if you go shorter than that, in my experience, it really doesn't work. So if you're starting this for the first time, wait 10 days, wash with a rinse, wait another week or 10 days, depending on how oily your hair gets, then rinse again, and then see how you go, and then you can kind of get into a rhythm of things from there. Now, another reason that no poo might not be working for you is that you're not cleaning your brush. And actually, currently, even though I've just washed my hair, it is a little bit kind of not ideal at the top. And that is, my friends, because I didn't wash my brush. So I should have done that before the video, actually. It was really stupid. As you can see on here, if it will focus, as you should be able to see, there's quite a bit of waxy buildup around the base of the bristles, and there's kind of like a white sheet on top of the black base of the brush. So to avoid having to wash my brush every single time I brush my hair, which would be a nightmare, it's actually one of the reasons that I stopped doing it the first time, like years ago. I stopped doing no poo because I was like, this is so frustrating, so annoying. Have 2 hairbrushes. So typically what I do is for the first 2 or 3 days when I'm first brushing my freshly washed hair, I will use my bamboo brush. Now this just helps to distribute the oils, as I said, and I try to keep it as clean as I possibly can. Unfortunately, I didn't this time, but we'll just ignore that. So by day 3, my bamboo bristle brush is getting a bit gross and I don't really want to keep using it. So then I transition to my Dubois brush, which you can find at most chemists and beauty stores in Australia. I love this brush as well. So once 2 or 3 days is up and my hair starts getting oily again and I'm like, okay, yeah, like it's not perfect anymore, I just transition to a regular brush and then I just brush that through. So this one gets a bit more gross, a bit more regularly, and that's fine because by the time my hair is being brushed by this, it's already gross. But yeah, as for cleaning my brushes, all I do is I just basically rub them together in a bath of warm soapy water and then leave them out to dry. So I'm not going to show you that because it's kind of boring, but I'll link a video below about basically exactly what I do to wash my brushes. Another common mistake that people make when they go into no poo is assuming that conditioning their hair is totally out of the question. Now, while I don't recommend using a conventional store-bought conditioner after you use the rinse, what I do recommend is once your hair is dry, using a light oil to moisturize the ends. So what I personally use is jojoba oil because it's actually the oil that has the most similar composition to your natural body oils. Other than that, I also use this oil by the brand called Supple Skin Co. called Dew Drops, and this was a present from one of my good friends, so I'm very grateful. But yeah, it's basically just a combination of hemp oil, carrot seed oil, lavender oils, a few essential oils, and it smells really nice. But both of these oils aren't really heavy like coconut oil or olive oil or any of those oils. So I recommend basically just moisturizing your face or moisturizing a part of your body with a normal amount of either of these oils or a light oil of your choice. And then with the residue that's still on your hands afterwards, rubbing that through your hair, because the last thing you want is to put oil directly onto your hair and have it become really heavy and sort of stick together. It's not very nice. But in general, moisturizing your hair is incredibly important to make no poo work, I've found. Okay. This is the worst part about it, like of hair in general. It's just like always everywhere. So you guys asked a lot of questions on my previous no poo YouTube video about like what my exact routine is and the ratios I use for apple cider and baking soda, and also asked some questions about things like the smell of your hair, things like the greasiness, why it's not working, why you're not transitioning. And also there was quite a few comments of concern about the fact that baking soda and apple cider vinegar can cause your hair to become brittle and dry and like sort of bleached after a few years or a few months. So I just wanted to debunk and or confirm some of those myths and questions. The first being the question about baking soda and apple cider vinegar. Is it really bad for your hair? So to answer this question, we need to understand the theory behind how baking soda, apple cider vinegar, no poo works. So basically the whole theory, the whole practice is based on the idea of pH. So the pH scale measures acidity, and anything between 7 to 14 is a basic compound, and anything between 0 to 7 is an acidic compound. So things between 0 to 7 are like lemon juice, vinegar, all that sort of stuff, and things between 7 to 14, things like baking soda. So the idea with baking soda is that it cleans your hair and it gets rid of all the oil. But the issue is that it leaves the hair strand open, because anything that is basic causes everything to relax. So that means that moisture can get out, it can become frizzy and brittle and that sort of thing. So after you use baking soda, you have to use an acid to counteract that effect and to make the hair follicle sort of seal up again. So the theory is that if you use baking soda first and then apple cider afterwards, it should basically clean your hair but then seal the follicle again. Now that's great, and it does work. And it's worked for me because I figured out what that sort of ratio is for my particular hair type, but it's not a fix-it-all sort of a solution. But I was reading different science blogs and things, and they say that the pH of baking soda, no matter how dilute it is in the water that it's in or the solution that it's in, will stay the same pH. So whether you've got 1 teaspoon of baking soda or 100 teaspoons of baking soda in a liter of water, it's going to be a pH of around 8.3. So that's quite a basic compound, which means that your hair follicle is always going to be open no matter how dilute that original mixture is. And when you apply the ACV, you have to apply enough so that the acid will seal the hair follicles, but not so much that it's going to stink or that it's going to sting your scalp. So I am not trying to say that this is the best thing ever, like it is, but I think the purpose of the no poo method that I'm using at the moment is to try and transition to a different no poo method, to try and wean myself off baking soda and apple cider completely and just water wash, or to use something like rye flour and other different completely natural shampoos. So I'm currently in the process of trying them, and I will post another update video in a couple of weeks' time to see which ones worked, which ones didn't. Thank you so much for watching that video. I hope you got some interesting and valuable information from it. Learn from my mistakes. If you do the no poo method, please comment below. Let me know what your experience was. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Also, if you haven't checked out my original no poo video, do check it out. It is linked below, because in it is like a really honest experience of my 2-week transition into no poo and how difficult it was. So if you are thinking of doing no poo, definitely check that out before you start, just so you know what you're getting into. And yeah, like this video, subscribe to my channel for more lifestyle and also art videos and just videos about my life. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye everyone.